Well, as many of you may know, the new Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team remakes have just been released recently. And to be honest, I can't believe they actually made the remakes of the game. I am definitely someone who adores the Mystery Dungeon series. From the very first game that I binged the heck out of to Time, Darkness, and Sky, let's be honest, that's probably the most famous one. And even Super Mystery Dungeon, I did a whole review on that, and I absolutely loved the game. To be honest, like the story is better in that one than Time, Darkness, and Sky. But hey, I have every single one up until this point, not including Red Rescue Team because I was on the Game Boy Advance. But now, one thing that definitely crossed my mind is how good of a remake is this? Does it stand true to the original source material that came out almost 15 years ago? And judging by the footage and some of the information I got off of Cerebi, I would say yes, it actually is a nostalgia trip by all means. Going back into the past and reliving those moments of when this game first debuted, and it's very, very cool. And I will say that there's a lot of things that I do like about the remake, and then there's some things that probably could have been improved on from the beginning that a lot of critics are talking about that haven't been touched, which I guess they want to stay true to the original source material, but at the same time, it's... Now, the main thing is how good of a value is this remake as a whole? Because there is one thing that I noticed that is making me really on the fence, and that's the reason why I haven't bought it yet, is that it is a $60 game. I know that's not really a fair comparison by any means, considering that we're talking DS versus Switch. But with all the research that I've done, besides a few improvements to the mechanics, the watercolor graphics, and the shoehorn Mega Evolutions, this is pretty much a one-for-one copy of the game. It's not necessarily a bad thing, though, because those who weren't able to enjoy the game back when it first came out, well, now they will be able to. And that's great news to hear. Now, because this is a one-for-one remake, that also means that the story hasn't really been extended, and besides maybe 3 new dungeons, I think, and then the Makuhita Dojo upgrade, slight upgrade, there really isn't any additional content with this game, so asking for $60 might be a little bit much. Now, compared to other remakes that we have seen in the past, and I have to bring this up because it is very important. Clear example right here. The Spyro Reignited trilogy. This is a perfect example of a remake done right at a reasonable price. You get all 3 Spyro titles from the PlayStation 1 era packed into one game and all updated graphics and everything. That's pretty much a one-for-one remake. There's nothing else new besides maybe a couple of new mechanic upgrades. But other than that, it's a one-for-one remake, and it's sold at $40. I couldn't ask for more. I've spent like 30 hours playing that game, and I just finished it recently, actually. And I loved every bit of it. Well, I will definitely go back to that, along with playing the originals that I have. Now, Spyro and even Crash Insane Trilogy at the same price are games that I can highly recommend at those prices, especially whether you've played the games previously or not. Now, with Mystery Dungeon, it's a little bit tricky with this. If you have played the game before, you probably already played the demo, like, how many times now? Hell, you probably already have the game, let's be honest. But I will say that even coming from a hardcore Mystery Dungeon player myself, I still don't think that the entire game is worth 60. I mean, I gave Sword and Shield a lot of shit for being 60 as well. And considering that the story's length is probably, I would have to say, like half of what Time, Darkness, and Skies was, and probably a third of what Super Mystery Dungeon was, I don't really see that really being worth the value as a whole, unfortunately. Spoiler alert, and even in the post-game, you have all the legendary dungeons that you can go to, like the Ho-Oh side story, and then the little side story with the Lotties, which, hell, that's one of the reasons why I fell in love with them, was that story. And even with all of that, it's still really, really tricky, because if you're not, I'm going to say it right now, if you're not a fan of repetitive gameplay, don't buy it. It's not worth your $60. And that's one thing that critics keep saying. I might as well bring this up because, let's face it, instead of making another video of it, I might as well just say it here. Critics keep saying that the repetitive, like, dungeon crawling aspect of it, where every dungeon feels the same and you keep doing the same thing over and over again, that's the reason why it can get boring really quickly, unless you have an attention span like mine, who, yeah, I mean, I've done a 4-hour live stream of me chopping trees in RuneScape, so just take that as you will. And if you don't like that repetitive nature of it, then I don't recommend this at all. I mean, to be honest, it's not even worth the $40 of the original, let alone the $60 of this one. So that's definitely something to consider. And by the way, they're critics of video games. How dare you say that Mystery Dungeon is repetitive and extremely the same as all the other installments, when literally all the other main Pokemon series games have been doing the same shit all this time, and yet you gave them all 9s and 10s. Freaking hypocrites. But anyway, the main point I'm trying to make is that, yes, this game is definitely a great callback to the original Red and Blue Rescue Team, for sure. That is something I will definitely give them. And I mean, even playing the demo, I felt like I traveled back in time, and that's an amazing feeling. I mean, there are a few things that I don't particularly like they didn't get rid of the 99 floor dungeons, especially the Celebi one. Everybody hates that one. Why didn't you change it? And the Mega Evolutions, I mean, you saw that one coming. I've literally had a point in my channel where it's an anti-Mega Evolution channel of YouTube. But for sure, I mean, I understand you want to make the Rayquaza boss fight better, but you also screwed over most of the Pokemon that you and your partner can pick from. Like, I got Totodile again, just because I've been Totodile every single game except for Gates to Infinity. And if I come across a time where I have to Mega Evolve in order to beat a boss, I'm going to be fucked 6 ways from Sunday. So thanks for that a lot. I appreciate it. I mean, I wouldn't use it anyway, but that's just an example that has to be said. And then there's things that I do like the ability to not have to go in your menu every single fucking time to use a move. To be fair, that was fixed in Gates to Infinity. You could just push a shoulder button, then use a move with another button. Which, yeah, that should be expected in a remake, to be honest. It's just updated mechanics to make the game way better and more tolerable. Once again, an example, make it, for Spyro Reignited Trilogy, making Agent 9 a third-person shooter controls. Good call there, Toys for Bob. But that's the type of thing I mean. Mechanic upgrades like that should be expected in a remake. This game looks gorgeous, besides the fact that, let's face it, it's Super Mystery Dungeon models with just a watercolor texture. It looks good, but I see what you did there. I love the fact that they actually give a shit about the Mystery Dungeon series, but I'm just so torn with that pricing model. $60 for a remake that was, once again, $40 at the time. I understand it's a 15-year gap, things change, etc. I get what you mean. And the reason is it's a first-party Switch game, so it automatically has a $60 price. I mean, that's the reason why Sword and Shield was $60. Even though, never mind, I'm not going to say it. I already said it 7 times. But Spyro and Crash are on the Switch as well for $40. So, like, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to say it. I don't think that this new Mystery Dungeon remake is worth the price right now at all. If you want to spend money on a Switch game, I honestly recommend saving it for possibly Animal Crossing, or pick Crash or Spyro for sure. If you're looking for a good remake that is true to the original games and you get a bunch of content for a reasonable value, Crash and Spyro is the way to go. Now, one thing is for sure. If they bring the price down to $45, maybe $50 if I'm feeling generous, I'll probably get it. But, and you listen to me good, if I dare see additional content sold as paid DLC, let's just hope that never happens.